So I have a question for you. Can you stand astride the Mississippi River? Yeah, the big Mississippi River. What if I told you that you can? Well, what I have for you today is a double-edged sword, two edges. One edge is for an admonishment, the other edge is for encouragement. So today's part of the double-edged sword is the encouraging part. But yes, you can stand astride the Mississippi River. Before you do that, before I tell you how to do that, let's turn to John 6. And this is when Jesus he had gone up to preach, and a large following had come up with him, and he had asked his disciples, where can we get food to feed them? And one disciple said, even if we worked for a year, we wouldn't have enough money to feed them. So Jesus asked, what do you have? And they said, we have 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. And that's in John chapter 6, verses 8 to about 12. But the Bible says that Jesus said, tell everyone to sit down. And from that 5 barley loaves and 2 fish, they were able to feed at least 5,000 men, not counting the women and children. 5,000 men. Can you imagine starting with 5 barley loaves and 2 fish? So what does this have to do with the Mississippi River? Sometimes God gives you a trickle of an idea. I want you to do this. I want you to talk to that person. I want you to write this email. I want you to start this business. I want you to write this book. I want you to write this song. He gives you 2 bars and you're wondering, okay, I have the first few notes. What do I do then? I want you to do all these things. And you think to yourself, it's so small. How can I ever get to where I'm supposed to be? If the Mississippi River had thought so at its origin, which is described as a trickle, if someone had told the river then that, oh, you just wait a few more miles down the road, when you empty out into the Atlantic, at your widest point, you will be over 200 miles long and 87 miles wide. 87 miles wide and over 200 miles long. That's the Mississippi Delta. But it tells us it starts off in Minnesota as a trickle. So what has God given you to do that you believe is a trickle? It's too small. This idea can work. It's too small. It's just a fleeting thought. Sometimes you have to capture those fleeting thoughts and put them down on paper and work with them. So I said earlier on in another recording that out of the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let's look at another witness. I've given you one witness from John. I want you to turn to the other witness from 2 Kings, when the widow went to Elisha and said, 2 Kings chapter 4, and said, your servant is dead, and now his debtors are coming to take away my 2 sons. I have nothing. And Elisha said, what do you have in your house? And she said, oh, I have this bread and I only have this amount of oil. And Elisha said, take the oil, borrow containers and pour. And she kept pouring and pouring and pouring, starting as a small trickle. That's your second witness. The third witness again is in Judges, and this is Gideon. God asked him to go fight. And so Gideon pulled his 22,000 people together, and God said, oh, Gideon, you have too many people, let's cut it down. So he cut it down to, what did the Bible say? I think 11,000, and God said, that's too many. Finally, God said, okay, I can do the job with 300. And Gideon said, how can you do the job with 300? And God said, no, 300 is just the right amount for me. So sometimes you think, God, I need all this money. And God is asking you to start with a trickle. What is the trickle in your life that you can start tonight that would pay off in a year's time? There are people waiting for you to start that trickle, to start that business, to start that book, to talk to them, to drive by their house, to encourage them. Do not overlook those tiny trickles, those tiny thoughts that flit through your mind. Grab a hold of them. Write them down, as the Bible says in Habakkuk, and run with them.